We got Grand Canyon head coach Bryce Drew. I know I've got a soft spot for Grand Canyon. My brother attended there, of course, the online courses for a couple of years.
Okay.
So got a bit of a soft spot. Been obviously watching kind of from afar as you guys have dominated the WAC. Now coming to the Mountain West. Big step up for you guys.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. A great history, basketball tradition in the Mountain West. I think one of the big draws was, the at-large bids, the league's gotten. And then you look at some of the runs some of the teams have made through the years in the NCAA tournament. It's making us level up, get better with our roster, get better at everything we do to, compete in this league.
So I know one thing that I looked at, because I was thinking, okay, how good can you guys be in the first year? And then I looked at the history of some of the teams jumping in. Nevada, Utah State, I think Boise State. There's 4 or 5 teams that have joined the Mountain West since. The unfortunate thing is almost none of them did good. Even when they dominated the WAC, Nevada went 17-1, then went sub 500 in the Mountain West their first year. Eventually they're good. So the key for you guys is, what do you guys got to do to not, fall into that historical trend where you struggle year one and have to build your way up?
Yeah, basketball is so different now than it was, years ago, obviously with the transfer portal. With several things. And, our school's been kind of outside the box, how it's come to be and grown through the last so many years. We had 1,500 students in 2008. We have 25,000 students 17 years later and 100,000 online. That doesn't just happen. And so, we've only been Division I for a handful of years as a sports program. And, it's very blessed with what our schools helped us to achieve with our basketball program. So, hopefully we can break the odds. We're going to try our best.
Yeah.
But it's a really good league, really good players, really good coaches, really good fan bases. Playing in altitude is definitely going to be a challenge. I think over half the league's in altitude. We're not. And so, that could be something that takes some time to get used to.
Well, it's half the league's at high altitude, and then half the league is in, California, where it's you're either at altitude or you're close to sea level. It seems to be one or the other.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess, the Mountain West, there's a lot of teams that are fiercely proud about their venue. I'm coming from Utah State, where you got the Spectrum, you got Viejas, you got the Pit, Boise State, they're proud of their arena. Grand Canyon, you guys stick your arena up there with the best. How do you feel your venue will stack up against some of the best in the mid-majors?
Yeah, I think there'll be an immediate there's competition with teams. There's probably competition within fan bases too.
Yeah.
And so I could see, our group jumping right in on that. We feel like we have the best student section in the country. It is such an experience when you come to a game at GCU. I believe if someone comes and sees a game there, it'll be hard not to compare what you just saw anywhere else you go. It's just such a great performance that happens in the arena from beginning to end.
So, and you've had to replace a lot of guys. Of course, I believe it was 24/7. Had you guys in the top 40 for transfer class. Just what have you seen out of this transfer class? Where you've brought in a lot of really good players to try and compete right away.
Yeah, Jaden Henley. I think start with him. He was in the Mountain West, average double figures last year at UNLV. To keep him, close to LA as home, and then have him come back to the Mountain West is really helpful to us as a coaching staff, because he's been through the league, he's played at the other arenas, and I think it'll be really helpful to our players as the year comes. And then we had some other experienced guys who played basketball, 3 years that have experience, and we're going to need that with the crowds and just the teams we're going to be facing.
How key is to have a guy like Jaden Henley, where he played in the Mountain West? Of course, he's played Big East, Big Ten. He's played at the biggest levels and been a contributor there, most with UNLV last year in the Mountain West. Just how key is to have a guy like that? I know he's not the only guy with experience you're bringing in, but he has that relevant experience in the Mountain West. How key is that?
Oh, it's really important, especially because we're first-time coaches there. We do have 2 assistants that have coached in the Mountain West. One coach, one played, and so hopefully that'll help them just whether it be travel or certain things at the cities or certain nuances to the arenas. So it'll be helpful to have them. But other than that, Jaden's a really good player.
Yeah.
And so having a really good player is very helpful.
So you got the good restaurant recommendations too?
Oh, we got a lot. There's a lot of great places in Phoenix. You can pretty much go down Camelback and just throw a dart and you're good wherever you go.
Yeah. So looking at the NCAA, I guess one of the hot-button topics, NCAA tournament expansion. There's a lot of debate over mid-majors. Is it going to help them? Is it going to hurt them? Just when you look at that, is it something you think about a lot? What do you feel about that?
I don't think about it a lot because, obviously the powers to make those decisions will be somewhere else.
Yeah, we don't get to make those decisions.
But I like it. I like the idea. I think there's so many more programs now in Division I than there was, decades ago, and it's the best event in the world. Those couple days, especially those first few rounds, and I just think if you added one more round of games, how much even more excitement that would create, and I think it'd only make the tournament even more enticing to have more people involved. Yeah,
when you look at recruiting these days, just you talk about how teams are so different, 10, 15 years ago. What is recruiting like, especially, in the mid-majors where budgets aren't as big as some of these teams that are spending 10, 15 million on their rosters? Just what is the challenge like for you guys? And you guys are obviously very successful at it, bringing in a lot of good transfers. Mm-hmm. Just what is that like, trying to compete with these teams that have massive budgets?
Yeah, it's definitely different than it was years ago. Knowing people is so important. You used to be able to, get to know a young man as a sophomore in high school and recruit him for 2-3 years, and you knew him, the family, everybody involved. Now with the portal, you don't know who's hitting the portal, and usually if they hit, they're deciding within a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And so you've probably heard stories, but I mean, it's pretty much you're on your phone, the whole day, the whole night, trying to make up 2 years of ground, into 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so I think trusting people, seeing what programs they came from. There's a lot of different things that you probably put more of a precedence on now than what you did, years ago.
Yeah. One thing I know, I was talking to Utah State's head coach Jared Calhoun. He talks about how much he has to fundraise. Like he's spending so much time. Does that end up making up a big part of your calendar? Is just doing fundraising?
Fundraising. You have to look at that as you schedule games. That's a big thing. Obviously, and just people coming to practice, being involved with the program, and it's such a vital part of college sports right now in general. And so, there's a lot more on our plates from that side. I would say that the takeaway would be, with the portal, you maybe don't recruit the high school kids quite as long as what you used to, and so maybe you save a little time there, but divert it right to fundraising and other things.
Yeah. And then just kind of last question: what's the most excited thing you're most excited for? I get my words in the right order about playing in the Mountain West this season, being part of the conference.
Yeah, I think just the tradition of the league and the good teams, the good coaches. I think as a coach, you want to get better, and you get better by going against really good coaches. And I think the same for the players. Our players came to the Mountain West. They want to play against the best players in the country, and so it's a great opportunity for all of us.
All right, thanks so much, Head Coach Bryce Drew. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks.
All right, have a good one.